Hello, Victor Fatanmi here from FourthCanvas, and I'm excited to walk you through this recent branding collaboration with SÉON. SÉON is building a sportswear brand that is looking to clothe the potential and greatness of Africa's sports talent. When they reached out, I was really excited because I'm a big fanboy of Nike, and many of us reference Nike as such an incredible branding and storytelling example. I read a few Knight's Shoe Dog, one of the most inspiring reads ever for me. I remember sometimes I would just drop it, lace up my shoes, and hit the road. That's the kind of impact it had. And save for national team, we're catered by Nike, and we all know the kind of impact that has had recent jerseys have had in terms of the support for the team, in terms of our lifestyle. When you look across different levels of sports, different sports at different levels, grassroots, we don't find the local brands that can rightly support these athletes and inspire these athletes, also help inspire the audience and the support around them. So there was that gap. There is still that gap, and that's exactly what SÉON is setting out to fill. And so it was such an exciting opportunity to help set that foundation, to help build something that could have that kind of effect, what Nike is doing globally. How much of it can we achieve in Nigeria and across the continent? And that's what SÉON set out to achieve. We were really curious at the beginning why they had chosen the name SÉON. SÉON is the South Korean pronunciation of Chan, which the Japanese call Zen, which means meditation. And in our discovery phase, which always provides the foundation for the strategy, which then guides everything else that follows. Some of the key things that came out was, so two co-founders here. From Debbie, you would consistently hear that story around how it's all about inner balance. So Debbie meditates, she's a swimmer. And then Olufumbi, we always speak to how there's a fighting spirit in every African. And as we dug deeper, which is what we tried to do in that discovery process, we were able to find a direct line between what happens within that inner balance and what happens outside, that external performance. And this connects very strongly from the martial arts, from where the name has come from, to histories of kings and gods and warriors in Africa. In different forms, there's always the inner work done in the dark, done alone, underscoring or underpinning the external performance. And we set out to build a brand around this unique line, which we believe is which many people across the continent can resonate with, because the story of sports across the continent is a growing one. It's not yet that of so many global icons. We have global examples, but what is way much more relatable is the hope and the belief and the aspiration of many young people who are still alone now, who are still in the dark, who are still doing that work with themselves mentally, trying to preparing for the battle, preparing for the big stage. And all of that discovery process led us to the big idea for SÉON. Again, this is where the work really begins. And so we arrived at greatness begins within. And this was such a powerful way to capture something that is indeed true for the co-founders, their intention, and a story that matters to sports and that matters to sports on the continent at the moment. And the really exciting part for us with this was how we were able to do something really unique. So Nike owns Just Do It. And it's really difficult, to tell a different story with sports beyond the idea of, go out there and win, give your best, don't just get it done. believe in yourself. That's like the typical story when you think about sports, and that's the story Nike has told so well, so well, right? Just Do It is a global branding example, and Adidas couldn't find a way around it. Nike's fiercest competitor really repeats what Nike says, because impossible is nothing. It's really a synonym to Just Do It. It's just another way to say the same thing. And so with this, we were excited because we really didn't want to do just another version of that. And I think we were able to pull off something Adidas couldn't pull off with Greatness Begins Within. Because when you look at Just Do It and Impossible is Nothing, they both speak to that external possibility, what is possible out there. But with Greatness Begins Within, we're helping SÉON to tell the story of the work that happens in the dark, that happens alone, that happens in the mind, the work that no one sees. So it's still the greatness, the Just Do It, the Impossible is Nothing aspiration, but directly connected to the work that precedes it. So we believe that with Greatness Begins Within, which is the big idea and the central slogan for SÉON, we were really on to something. And so we started to find the mark, which is a really critical component for a sports brand. And then we explored different ideas that could help capture this story. And then we started to narrow down around this particular idea, so which is inspired by two things, telling this story, the same story. So one, we were thinking about the delicate balance, when you arrange three stones on top of each other, which is symbolic for balance. At the same time, using shapes that look like blades of a sword. So it's speaking to both that inner work, that balance, as well as the external performance using the swords. And then trying to arrange that in a way that subtly, indirectly reads as an S. And then it went from here to here to here, different variations, till we got to this as the final logo that we were both, the clients and our team, we were all together happy with. And this resulted in the mark for SÉON. So this is the SÉON mark. We were able to make it look S. It looks sharper, like blades of a sword, while still maintaining the idea of delicately balancing three shapes on top of each other. So the blacksmithing process speaks to both the internal work, which is that process itself, that heated process, through which you produce the fine metal, which is the finished product. Again, greatness begins within, the inside work leading to the external glory. Yeah, the blacksmithing process was such a powerful metaphor. And then we gathered with the forged within. So forged within became the visual metaphor that we would then build the entire system on. And that leads us here. So what you're looking at is what we named this is the beginning of the case study itself. So everything I've given you is just the background context to get to this point. So what you're looking at is what we call the SÉON lava. And so this is one of the key elements of the visual system, and it's inspired by that molten metal phase of the blacksmithing process. And it also gives the vibe of an ultrasound, which again speaks to the inner work, which no one can really see clearly, but it's the work that goes on within, whether it's in the mind or in the dark or alone. Again, coming back to the within story, that's what inspired this asset. And everything ties together in this story and brand language that we helped to then extend around greatness within. So the real battle isn't out there, it's in here, where no camera can capture and no crowd can cheer. Discover the greatness within. So this is the brand. This is the brand language. Again, the forged within, becomes not just the visual metaphor, but it also becomes the idea on which we then build the brand copy, the brand language. Everything tying again back to greatness begins within. So while you think about greatness begins within from an emotional point of view, the emotional story, it ties very much into the functional message as well. So now we're saying gear up for greatness, which gearing up the kits is the direct thing that SÉON is producing. Because again, businesses have a specific product and service, right? But then they have to stand for something. There has to be something they're standing for. There has to be a message. And then the product itself then becomes like a tool with which to achieve that bigger idea. So in this case, that's greatness. That's greatness that begins within. And then you're preparing for it, then you're gearing up for it, which then brings in the direct product itself. So won by giants, for those who chant, cheer, and carry their team on their chest. So on the side here, you start to see with this bold number 17, what we call the SÉON metal, which is a critical part. Again, everything's still inspired by that blacksmithing process. Then you see for the expressions, we did a shoot with some models because SÉON already actually kits some actual sports team. This is the jersey for the Korodu City, a model featured by a model from our shoot. And then you start to see some further expressions here. And this animation highlights the blades as they come together in the full lockup of the logo. Here's a more literal representation of the forged within idea. When you're looking at this case study itself, not this preview, you should keep your sound on at this point so you can hear this. There's actually a sound here that takes you deeper into the blacksmithing process, which is a big inspiration for what we have created here. This is one of my favorite parts actually. So you know how the logo is like 3 shapes on top of each other, the blades, but here we create a visual container that is 3 shapes delicately balanced on top of each other, but not literally the logo shapes itself across the entire system. Yeah, you see it here as well, sitting on the SÉON metal. And then you see further expressions here to the left. And then if you're paying attention to the brand copy, everything is like an offshoot of forged within, an offshoot of greatness begins within. Within is origin, greatness within, made for the spotlight. So one of the motion assets is the SÉON lava in this case is being used to spotlight the word spotlight. But then again, you can then imagine how this can play out in terms of posters, ads, where you can highlight keywords like spotlight, like greatness, with these assets. So it's one of the ways we imagine the SÉON lava coming to life. And then here for the expressions with the type, bold type, as you can see, is consistent with the system. Talking about kits that SÉON already, teams that SÉON already kit up, several teams across flag football, basketball, volleyball, rugby, and football. Korodu United, like I mentioned earlier, is one of them. This is a photo from one of our shoots with models wearing the jersey. And so the system is already coming to life really beautifully. With teams across different sports. So lock-in, tune-outs, go inward, being expressed here with a sideboard, like a pitch sideboard. Some upcoming products from SÉON in terms of sport accessories. It's like a preview of how the identity comes to life across the board. Another favorite one for me here, this is a flag football ball that's been played for a whole season and worn out already, but you see the mark still there, timeless, we could say. More photos from the shoot here. Yeah, and that's how everything comes together. A moment in the spotlight first began in the dark. Yeah, and that's the SÉON story. And we're excited about the impact it's already having out there with teams. SÉON is still in its early days, but according to clients, there's already the impact in terms of this foundation for the brand, naturally leading to discovery by sports federations actively searching for genuine African-inspired sports apparel. So we're really excited for the future with SÉON. We enjoyed working on this project and we look forward to what SÉON would go ahead to do. And I hope you enjoyed this preview, and I hope I was able to take you within.